Hey BG, well here we are, another day, another yacht. Not every day you see a 120-foot yacht dangling from the slings.
While it's not every day that everybody sees this, there are people that see this every day, and that's going to be those commercial boys, and today we're going to talk a little about them. Welcome back, crew, to this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, why do we want to talk about commercial mariners? I mean, come on, this is a channel focused around boating fails, and typically, most of your boating fails are going to come from the amateurs, correct? The people who are out there in the water that don't quite know what they're doing. But that's not quite true. In fact, some of the biggest fails we ever see actually do come at the hand of commercial mariners, and there are several reasons behind this. But the first one being, when they make a mistake, it is typically elevated well beyond anything that amateurs are going to do. I mean, your amateur mistake might be somebody hitting a sandbar, as where the commercial mariner, when they make a mistake, it's going to be elevated 100 times more because the boat's typically a whole lot bigger, and there's a whole lot more going on, and definitely those mistakes cost a lot more. Now, one thing I will openly admit though, and you may not think this, but the commercial mariner is actually a whole lot more susceptible to having things go wrong, and there are many reasons behind this. One of the biggest ones is the commercial boys are out there a whole lot more than we are, and one of the other things is they have to go out. So for many of us who are fair weather boaters, if the weather sucks, we decide to stay in. We're like, we don't understand why anybody would go out on a day like this. The commercial boys typically don't have that option. I mean, whether the weather's good, bad, or indifferent, they're working. They've got to get out there and get the job done. And so a lot of the fails we see the commercial mariners have to do with weather that most of us would never even bother boating in. Another issue the commercial mariner deals with that most of us in boating don't have to is most of the time, commercial mariners are carrying cargo of some kind. And so they're going to have to deal with incidents that are going to occur with that cargo. For us, for the most part, we know exactly what's on our boat. We know exactly what's going to happen to it. The commercial mariner never really 100% knows what just got put on their vessel and what the ramifications of that item being there are going to be. I mean, the commercial mariner is going to deal with situations out on the water that most of us who are just normal pleasure boaters would never even imagine could happen to us while we were out there enjoying the day, boating with the family and friends. They're also going to encounter things on the water that, again, most of us would just never even think of. I mean, imagine that one. When's the last time you were out on your local waterway, enjoying the day boating with some friends or family, and the next thing you know, off in the distance, you spy a boat that's just sitting there floating. As you approach the vessel, there's nobody on board. It looks abandoned, but yet the vessel's still out there in the middle of nowhere, and you're not sure how it got there. Now, while I would say commercial mariners probably don't see that every day, it's probably not as uncommon as you might think. Another item that commercial mariners have to deal with a whole lot more than us pleasure boaters is going to be other people. Now, when I say that one, let me explain for a few moments. When we're out there boating, typically we're the ones responsible for ourselves, as to where a commercial vessel and commercial mariners typically are going to rely on everybody doing their job. It's not just one person driving the vessel, there's a group of people working together to make sure the vessel gets to the place it needs to get to, all intact in one piece. Now, when you're relying on a lot more people to get the vessel there, it only takes one person to mess something up for things to go wrong, and the next thing you know, things get out of hand pretty quickly at no fault of your own. Now, another situation that commercial mariners are going to have to deal with a whole lot more than your typical pleasure boater, that's going to be traveling to locations that most people would not go. Commercial mariners, when they're hauling cargo, are going to travel all over the world, which is going to put them in some very unique situations and places. Now, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of pleasure boaters, myself included, who do cross international lines on a vessel, but when's the last time you took your boat somewhere internationally where you woke up in the morning and you thought, yeah, I probably need to go ahead and put some barbed wire out to try and prevent somebody from trying to hijack my vessel? Commercial mariners in the certain areas of the world will deal with this quite a bit. So the next time you're out there enjoying your day on the water boating, just remember there's a commercial mariner somewhere out there in the world who's boating in a situation that you probably have zero desire to be in and facing things that you don't want nothing to do with, and that's why they're a little more susceptible to having things go wrong and seeing some of the biggest fails we can see out there on the water. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know, and you might see your stories over here. Just like Adam Coolidge, Jan04, Mr. Malamy, Paul Godden, St. Stasius, and The Real Germinator did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.